Hey everybody, Kenny here. So first off, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel over the past year. Honestly, hitting 100 subscribers is not something I expected to happen. And I am thankful and grateful to all of you who enjoyed my content enough to hit that button. So I guess for the third time now, thank you so much. Secondly, I'm just going to have this footage of me stumbling my way, trying to remember how to play Warframe, just playing in the background here. Warframe isn't a game I'm ever going to cover on my channel, but it is a game I like, so occasionally when I do a kind of discussion style video, I may have Warframe or another game that I like, but I'm not going to cover on the channel, just running in the back, just because it's a game I enjoy, and since this is kind of a video about giving background on me, this is kind of a background thing on me. I'm not a huge Warframe guy. I only have around 250, 260 hours, something like that, which is nothing in the Warframe community, but, you know, I'm an RPG guy, so I can't devote all my time to a game like Warframe, but when I can, I do like to hop in and play a little. So that's why you're going to see that, just running in the background here. It's not representative of anything. I just like the game and wanted to have it there. So as, I guess, a 100 subscriber thank you video type thing, I decided to do a kind of little background on myself as far as what got me into RPGs, why I'm so passionate about playing different styles of RPGs of all kinds. So growing up, I was never any good at any kind of game. I remember we got an NES when, I think the year I turned 6, I think. We got an NES, and we got that, you know, the cart that had Mario, Duck Hunt, and Track and Field. Actually, so no, we did get the triple one. Our cousin got the one that just had Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt on it, and we got the one that had Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and Track and Field. So I remember vividly. You know, there are 3 of us, so we would start up with Mario Brothers, and each time we would die, we'd have to hand over the controller, and for an hour, every time they handed me the controller, I'd run headfirst into the first Goomba, and then have to hand over the controller for an hour. Any video game you put in front of me, any kind of game, even it didn't have to be a video game, board game, you know, any kind of baseball, basketball, football, anything. I couldn't grasp the basics for my entire childhood, but I loved it. You know, I loved seeing the characters. I loved the worlds. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog. I played through Green Hill Zone till I destroyed the cart that it came on. But as soon as I got to, I don't know if it's Marble Zone. It was the one that had the underwater section. Whichever one that was, I would always get to that one, and I would die from running out of oxygen. Wherever that stage was, every time. Never got past that part. And I would play it every day after school until that cart broke. You know, play all the way through Green Hill Zone, get to that water area, wherever that was, and never get past, you know, and always end up drowning Sonic. And that's the way it was, like every game we played. You know, any game we got, like, you know, I would always be terrible at it, but I would still love to play them. And then eventually my brother got Street Fighter 2, and I became obsessed with that game. Obsessed. If you ask pros how long they play that game for, I assure you that the amount of time I spent playing that game when I was a kid probably matches or exceeds the amount of time that some of the pros put into the games that, you know, that they are pro at, and I had nothing to show for it. I couldn't, you know, I could pick any character and not beat M. Bison. That's how it was, even though I literally played that game for thousands of hours. Thousands of hours I played Street Fighter 2. And the reason I'm bringing that up, even though it has nothing to do with RPGs, the reason I'm bringing that up is that fighting games for some reason. Like fighting games, like I don't know if it was because, you know, I'm an 80s kid and all of the movies we we had when we were kids, like we're just so hyper violent that, you know, any game where like the whole thing is just violence just kind of clicked. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't go to school for that. I don't know the reason. All I do know is that for some reason, fighting games were like my thing. It was like the only thing that I could like kind of, like it wasn't something I was good at. It was just something that like I glommed onto, and I wouldn't like, and like mentally, like, it was like all I would think about was just fighting games. And then Dragon Ball Z happened, and that was to me watching a fighting game happen, but the fighters just kept getting stronger, which was amazing. And then one day, after I had bought my first PS1, I'd saved up my money from working at a movie theater with my summer job, and I got a PS1 and Dragon Ball GT. And I played the crap out of Dragon Ball GT. And yes, Dragon Ball GT, not a great game. It's not. But what you could do in Dragon Ball GT is instead of playing it like a normal fighting game, there was a mode you could go into. And you'd pick a character. And you'd go into this mode. And I don't remember what the mode was called. But you'd go into this mode and you would just keep doing fights as the character. And whatever moves you would use, by winning these fights, those specific moves would get stronger. So eventually, like if every fight you just went in there and just did a low kick over and over again, then eventually you'd do a low kick that could knock out like 1,000,000 health off an enemy. while you could do a giant, you know, Kamehameha or, you know, any other kind of Dragon Ball Z super special, you know, Final Flash, what have you, and do nothing with that, while your little low kick would just do tremendous amounts of damage. So you could just be leveling up these characters, doing these, doing whatever move you are consistently winning these fights with, and just making these obscenely powerful characters for no reason. Because you really, like, the point of that was so you could fight your friends' characters with your characters, and, you know, and I guess competitively the idea is there's no way anyone would know like what it is your like killer move. But how many people did you know growing up, if you grew up in with a PS1, how many people did you know would actually bring their memory cards over to fight in a fighting game? Both of you would have to own the same fighting game, both of you would have to have spent time in that mode, and then you'd have to make the decision to meet up and fight each other's fighters. Not a thing that ever happened, but I loved doing it. And then one day, one of my first friends in high school, who I would talk to during gym class about Dragon Ball Z all the time, one day he introduced me to the game Legend of Legaia. Now, at that time, I wasn't working anymore because it became clear that I couldn't work and go to school and still pass my classes. So I had to stop working. I didn't have money anymore to buy games, so I couldn't buy Legend of Legaia. But I did have enough money saved up that my buddy had a connection that let me mod my PS1 to be able to play pirated games. So I was able to to burn a copy of his Legend of Legaia so that I could play it at home. And I put obscene amount of hours to that game. Obscene. I had never played an RPG. Actually, the only RPG I'd ever played prior to that point was Super Mario RPG, and I didn't understand what the hell was going on. Okay, I like save states. I didn't know what save states were. You know, there was a Super Nintendo game. Every Super Nintendo game I'd ever played prior to that did not do save states, because every game I played was something like, you know, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or NBA Jam, or, you know, like nothing that saved the state. It was, you know, you played the game to do like a quick match in something. Because every game we had was like that. So when I rented Super Mario RPG, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh, it says to load the game. I guess that's how you start the game up. And oh, what's this thing here? It says I don't know what these numbers mean, but I guess you need to press this to start the game, I guess. And then so I loaded up the save that was on the cart that I got from Blockbuster, and I had no idea what was happening because, you know, I didn't start the game new. I started from somebody's save that was on the cart. I had no background in RPGs. I didn't understand the controls. I didn't understand what anything was. So I thought it was the worst game ever made, and I didn't play it again until years later using emulation. But after that, you know, understanding what RPGs were, not through actually playing RPGs, but from my weird experiences by getting into fighting games, then getting into anime, then getting into video games based on anime that happen to have progression systems. I was able to kind of stumble my way into semi-understanding what RPGs were when I started playing Legend of Legaia. Legend of Legaia, to me, was a fighting game set up to be a world-spanning quest. Like watching Dragon Ball Z, but I'm playing it. I'm playing the power fantasy of being a guy who starts off at this place, and as he's going along, he's just getting stronger and stronger. And I could just keep fighting things like I love doing in Street Fighter 2 all day long. And since back then, from age 13, 14-ish until like 30, I had insomnia. So I would be up, I'd get home from school, I'd put it on Legend of Legaia, and I'd be playing that until I went to school the next day. And I'd do that every day. You know, like if I slept, it would be while I was playing Legend of Legaia. For, you know, like 1 or 2 hours, then I go to school, come back, you know, repeat. And that was the thing that started the addiction. From that point on, you know, I tried every RPG, anything I could think, you know, like, because, you know, this is the golden age of, actually, if there is a golden age of the internet, what people from my generation would call the golden age of the internet would be around that time, like 1998 to 2001, you know, in between that range, where no one really understood what the internet was yet, but we were all still using it. So I'd be going to every search engine, going, oh, what's the best RPG? I haven't played that one. I need to download that emulator. I need to go to this site and download these ROMs so I can try this game out. But I've never heard of this game in my life. Oh, it's not even in English. That's fine. I don't need to understand what anything says. If I press this button, then this guy with the anime hair does this special animation effect, and the screen does cool things, and it makes endorphins fire off in my brain. And that's all I need. I don't need to understand what's happening right now, which anyone who ever played that really weird, I think it was a Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm not sure if it was an RPG or just a fighting game, like a really weird fighting game, but like the one where it's like you're like seeing them from, you're seeing like perspective of like kind of like over the shoulder. This is like a Super Nintendo game, like Super Famicom game. You're seeing them from like over the shoulder, and like you like press the buttons in a certain combination, and then depending on how you press the buttons, it was kind of like rock paper scissors, the combat. So if you pressed it in the right order based on what your opponent did, then you would win the trade-off. But I didn't understand any of that. You know, like I understood it years later, reflecting on it, what was actually happening, and because I didn't even know what Yu Yu Hakusho was yet, because it wasn't. They hadn't started airing the episodes on Toonami yet, so this was all just me deep diving, going down that rabbit hole into every type of RPG from every platform, Sega, Nintendo, TurboGrafx, arcade games, anything I could find. If people were saying, oh, this is an RPG, I was playing it. And I crashed my computer so many times by just maxing out my massive 8 gigabyte hard drive. Yeah, so that's how I got into RPGs, but far from the end of the story. Once again, thanks everyone so much for subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it so much. I really hope that I've improved over the last 8 years of YouTube, which, yeah, even though The public videos that are on my channel probably only show me having been on YouTube since I think 2017. I've actually been on YouTube since 2014. My first videos were actually some Path of Exile tutorial videos that were terrible. So they're actually still on the channel, but I have them set as private. So I don't even want people to be able to to follow links to see those because they are so bad. But yeah, but I really hope that, you know, I've improved and continue to improve so that I earn that confidence you've given to me. Thanks again. Have a great day. I'll talk to y'all next time.